All right. We're gathered here again. Do you know I'm used to doing these monthly? Feels like we just did one last week. Wait. We did just do one last week. All right, everybody. This is it. The Seriously Casual 2023 recap. We're going to go through the 10 games we played. We almost played a year's worth of games. Pretty impressive. Kind of talk about our rankings of the games. We're going to go through our individual scores, everything, kind of talk about why we put everything where we were, then, kind of, amend some things, maybe make some changes, or stay stubborn like myself and maybe keep everything right where it was. Then after that, we're going to get to our group collaboration where we go through our aggregate rankings and put them on a scoreboard. So, fellas, Colin, Chris, Holden, Darth, Super, how you doing?
Hello.
What up?
Greetings.
Happy to be here.
Can you guys believe we almost played a whole year's worth of video game book club games?
No, I can't stop lying.
Honestly, I think it's time to take a moment to, call out Holden for really giving us the idea to do
What
this
the
whole
fuck,
thing.
dude?
Yeah, come on, man. How dare you?
Yeah,
No,
I hate
but
that guy.
great idea. This has been a lot of fun. Started in March of last year. We're almost to another March, which is somebody slow down time. But yeah, this is super fun. I'm glad we got through a year's worth of stuff so we can sit here and talk about all the games we played together. And I feel like it's gonna be a real good time.
Agreed.
All right, so I want to throw out, like, normally we talk about the games we've been playing that are distracting us, but since this is the recap, I'm gonna put everybody on the spot right now. I want to hear everybody's actual game of the year, 2023 release.
Oh shit.
Yeah,
man.
I'll go first.
Oh.
I'll buy you guys time.
Okay.
I am obviously a very massive RE4 fan, and man, that remake, holy fuck!
Oh wait.
I could spend an entire episode just talking about that remake. I could spend an entire episode talking about RE4, and that was I didn't expect it. I knew it was gonna be good, but I went in cautiously optimistic. But damn, they killed it. Go Capcom.
Yeah, dude, Sam, it was really good.
I'll go
I
next.
don't
I
even
know mine.
really I don't pay attention to games that come out. So
I know mine 100%. Okay, so mine is Baldur's Gate 3. That probably comes as no surprise to people. Larian, I have always loved the way that they made their games, the way that they interact with their community, and I watched the game grow from its like very Divinity 2 original sin sort of like they were very close to each other at the start, and then I saw how it grew through community interaction and them actually listening to feedback. And every single time I saw an update, I knew the game was going to be good. I knew it was going to be good from the start. And then when it came out, I was so happy to see that like other people liked it as much as they did. Like it was like a total success, which amazing to see, especially for like a studio that I love so much with like an IP that I love so much. And then it just made a game that I love so much. It's honestly like not only like a game of the year, but like just one of the best games, like probably like top 3 games ever for me.
Damn.
It's
No,
okay.
I forgot to mute
Serious.
myself. I'm sorry. I meant to mute myself.
That's what they
I'm
all say.
serious. Oh
Being the
shit.
shitter.
Oh, Darth, it's okay. We're here for you.
I'm
No,
sorry.
it's funny
That's
you
cool.
mentioned. I completely forgot it was an early access, and then
Yeah,
it
for, like,
had its
a long
major
time,
release.
yeah.
Yeah, and
That's
that
how
now
they do
it,
all their games.
yeah,
But
it
that's also
comes to
why I think
mind
it.
that you said, I remember you playing it, and you were like, no. Wait for the full release. Like, you're not going to be disappointed. And I was like, I trust Darth on this one. And I've played, I think, about 8-10 hours, like co-op. And oh my God, that game is so fun.
Yeah, I agree. Baldur's Gate 3 is my number 1 of the year. One of the best RPGs ever made. Very good. Hello?
Yes.
Is my mic on?
Yo.
I also like
Yeah.
Armored Core 6 quite a bit.
Yeah, it was great.
Oh yeah, I forgot that existed.
I'm gonna check that out. I swear.
Get on sale. It's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was. Goot said Chris is a little quiet. Go up like 10%.
I'm not touching.
Give me a juice. All right, I'm gonna go. I'm gonna agree that as far as like quality of game, the best game I have played this year, even though I didn't beat it, I'm probably like a third in, is Baldur's Gate 3, without much contest. Resident Evil 4 enjoyers in shambles, I suppose, but it's just not as good. It's just not as good. But me being a pain, I'm gonna say that my favorite game I played this year, despite being very flawed, largely imperfect, was Final Fantasy 16.
Yeah, dude, I'm still really
Really?
excited to play it. You really liked
Yeah.
it.
Games
You
like
liked
a
it? Okay, that makes me happy to hear.
oh, I loved it. I had a great time with it. It's
I feel like you haven't said a single thing about it. I guess. Sorry.
you heard it was in different channels, and every time I talked about it, everybody made fun of me,
Oh.
so I didn't talk about it, and then I went to therapy. Nobody's kidding. But
And he's still recovering.
I really enjoyed it. I'll talk your ear off about it if you want to hear about it.
When I play the game, I'll talk. Don't worry.
Yeah,
Yeah.
once I
In
play it,
a
I'm
separate
excited.
channel, somewhere else.
Mhm. So nobody
Yeah.
else is tortured
Bully
by
free
hearing
zone.
about it.
Yeah, exactly. Final
Yeah.
Fantasy 16 safe
No
haven.
yawning, no fucking.
I'm
Really just
sorry.
fucking remake bullshit.
I just need a Googlag free zone because he bullies me. Just kidding, Googlag. I love you.
He's not watching this.
Yeah, he doesn't watch these.
That is true.
I'm sending it to him.
Okay, I turned my volume up a little bit. Is it clipping? Hello? I'm glad we did this
No,
before the show started.
It's not.
I'm not gonna
It
say we
sounds
told you,
good.
but
It sounded totally fine to me though. I have him at like 100 like regular volume level. It sounded totally fine to me.
hold it.
Super. What was your
Super.
game of the year?
Yeah.
I guess Resident Evil 4 remake. I mean, I don't really like modern video games. Like, I have literally no interest in playing Armored Core or Baldur's Gate or Final Fantasy 16. I don't know. I have this weird thing where, like, the more realistic that humans are depicted in games, the less I'm interested in the game.
That's
I
fair.
feel that.
Like,
Yeah.
I don't know. I
Interesting.
just have zero interest. Like, I understand Baldur's Gate, like, revolutionary, crazy good RPG, super deep, all this great stuff. I just don't care. I just don't care. I don't know why that is, but that's just the way I am. The only new games that I like are games from franchises that I'm already a fan of. Unless it's like something that appeals directly to my massive bias towards older style games, then I'm all about it. Like
What'd you think
recently,
of-
I was scrolling through Twitter and like there was this indie dev like check out my Game Boy game that I'm developing for the Game Boy, and I was like, dude, this looks sick. But like, fucking Starfield, I don't give a fuck. Like, I don't know.
Didn't Street Fighter 6 come out?
Oh yeah, Street Fighter 6.
Street
I
Fighter
don't
6,
really
Super
count
Mario
that
Brothers
though.
Wonder.
Yeah, Mario Wonder is great, but I think I enjoyed Resident Evil more than Mario Wonder. Only because Mario Wonder is too easy. It was
Yeah.
just too easy.
Definitely.
It ended very quickly, and it didn't present much of a challenge. Like everything else about it was fantastic, but it was just way too easy.
Yeah, I feel like
Your
Wonder.
favorite
If,
game of all time, Pizza Tower.
yeah.
Oh god, that game was fucking horrible.
Ouch.
Get me started
Sound
on Pizza
hot.
Tower.
You didn't like
Uh,
Pizza Tower?
No, that
Chris is
game
about to-
sucks.
Pull out
I
the
love
gat.
Pizza Tower.
The
Yeah.
music and the art are fantastic, but the entire game's on rails. It's like you go through the level and it's just so painfully obvious that they want you okay, jump here, then duck here, and then do a roll up the wall here, and then like they want you to do the exact specific things like on every part of the level. Like it's like on rails basically. And if you don't do the thing that's intended, you just like it feels like you run into a brick wall. Like the game is supposed to be this smooth, fast, like fluid experience. But if you don't do exactly what they want you to do, exactly when they want you to do it, you just come to a screeching halt. And it felt like shit to
So
play.
kind of like Doom Eternal and Contra 3, right?
Contra,
No,
whoa, wait,
Contra
whoa,
3.
whoa.
No, like I don't. yes, like Doom Eternal, but no, like not like Contra 3.
Oh,
What do you
now
Contra
think
you-
3
of?
Danny.
it has room for alternative styles of play, but yeah. So yeah, Resident Evil 4 remake. I'm a huge Resident Evil fan. I love the original Resident Evil 4, even though it was the beginning of the end
True.
for the series. Resident Evil 4 remake basically checked every box for me and hit it out of the park completely. Like, I don't think I really have anything bad to say about it, except for the decision to change Ida's voice. Like, I'm not saying I know saying that can be controversial because of the big thing that happened. I don't know if you guys remember when
What Eris
the
said or
internet-
whatever.
No, it's not what
No.
Eris said.
People
There was a-
literally
there was
took
a-
it too
a-
far.
There was a gamer reaction on the internet where people were like, not just displeased, like Danny said, they took it too far. Like, they started like sending her death threats and shit.
Ew.
Good old
That's
gamers, am I
gross,
right?
bro. Oh my god.
Yeah,
I don't
but
like his voice acting.
People
kinda
who
ruined
haven't
their
seen
life.
they haven't seen the sun in like 20 years.
Yeah,
Touch grass.
exactly.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
why are you afraid of them coming? Like, no one of them are gonna like leave their house anyways. It's not really very threatening, is it?
True.
Sure.
Chris, I feel
Yeah.
like you were gonna say something, and
Oh, I just was trying to ask Super about Vengeful Guardian Moonrider.
That was the most mediocre game I've ever played in my life.
Same.
Oh no.
And it had a really weird, like, kind of like undertone of like conspiracy, it felt like whoever wrote that game is like a conspiracy person.
QAnon
Felt that
shaman.
too.
Yeah,
Oh, shit.
basically something
Whoa,
like that.
whoa,
Like,
shaman.
the story had really weird undertones of like that. It just made me feel weird and gross. But it was just a very extremely mediocre action platformer. One game I will shout out. This did come out in 2023, right?
Balloon fight.
Yeah, Balloon Fight, definitely. That's the greatest game ever made of all time. No, Lethal Company.
True.
Yeah.
If we're gonna talk about games we have fun with, like,
Yeah.
man, like
That's
the game hasn't been out very long, but like every time I play that game,
That's
it's just a fucking blast.
that's definitely a fun
Yeah.
with the homies game.
And
Mhm.
like that's why we play games, right? To have fun.
Yeah.
And definitely, that's just always a great time.
It's actually a close second for me. I want to say, well, not that, but it's,
But yeah, I don't like the reason this book club is really cool for me is because pretty much all the games we play are older, right? And I have a big interest in exploring the catalog of these older systems because when I was a kid, I had Super Nintendo, Nintendo 64, PlayStation. I missed out on a lot of the Sega stuff and the TurboGrafx stuff, which basically everyone missed out on. But it's really fun and interesting to go back and see a lot of the way games evolved, basically. Like, see how things got started, like certain gameplay, design tropes, things like that.
I agree.
Yes,
a
sir.
big part of why I play games is that learning history and just exploring stuff, even if it's a
Yeah.
mediocre game.
Absolutely.
to
Like,
learn.
I definitely appreciate games for their historical significance, like Clock Tower.
That's why I'm
Mhm.
so happy we're still doing book
Yeah.
club, boys.
And, yeah, so
Don't think
For
you're
me, like-
escaping, Holden.
game of the year for me is kind of like it's not like everyone else because I don't like modern games very much.
Yeah, no, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Mine, I'll go real quick. My number 3 position, I'm gonna say, is tied between Sea of Stars and Armored Core 6. The number 2 position is Resident Evil 4 remake. Love that game, still playing it. And the number 1 position is Snooze Fest, Tears of the Kingdoms, my game of the year. I'm like the only person ever who apparently likes that
Oh,
game,
yeah.
but yeah,
I
love
like that game, dude. I like that game a lot, but
I,
there's a lot.
didn't
I'm
finish it, I
still
have no
having
opinion on
fun
it.
learning mechanics. Still, it's a big old game, fun game for me.
It was
It's
a
just-
big disappointment for me because there was an initial feeling of, oh, they just made Breath of the Wild again, exactly, and
Mhm.
that kind of went away, and I was like, oh, there's some unique things here, but then it rolled back into, oh, it's Breath of the Wild again, and I didn't finish it. I will finish it.
Interesting.
Shout
Very
outs
big
to
disappointment.
Hi-Fi Rush.
Oh, yeah, I gotta play
that's
that
definitely
too.
on the list.
Yeah, very good.
What even is that game? Like, I've heard that name so
Yeah,
many
me
times.
too.
Like, what is it?
Devil May Cry with the rhythm element.
Oh yes, this.
Oh,
Oh, you know what game you should all play though? Before we get in this, you guys should all play God Hand. That game's sick.
Let's
I played that game for
go.
the first time recently.
God Hand.
dude, it's
Defenders
games like
Rise
God
Up.
Hand that make me like, okay, like with, I don't know, like I can always take comfort in going back to games like God Hand and older games, and like it helps me face the modern industry and be able to be okay about it. Because
Oh yeah, no,
I
totally.
can always go back to these games, you know.
I'm glad that God Hand came up because it's like we may never come across it in video game book club, but it's like especially watching you play it, Holden, like from an outside enjoyment. I'm like, man, some of the stuff in this game, like, I don't know if that goes into a game nowadays. Like somebody would can't say. And then I'm like, you know what? Fuck it. That's why this game is cool. Like it might be a little off color. It might be a little inappropriate, but like, you know what? Not to get on a soapbox about everything being too safe, but it's like, come on, lighten up. You gotta laugh a little. Like,
Absolutely.
and that game is
how about
a
this, though?
laugh.
Like, if there's something in the game that offends you, don't play it.
No,
Don't play it.
how dare it
Yeah.
exist?
And send the voice actors death threats.
Yeah,
Whoa, 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 whoa.
don't you dare ever send a death threat to. Oh my god, I forgot his name.
Anybody ever.
Yeah, that's a fucked
Yeah,
up thing
anybody.
to do.
Yeah,
If
let's
you,
stick
if
with
you,
anybody.
If you do that, then you're a chump and a beta.
Mhm.
So speaking of offensive things, there was also the Super Mario RPG remake.
Oh, I forgot
Oh
about
yeah,
that.
you guys were hyped, and I never heard another thing about that.
Well, I mean, they talked
There's
about it. It's just
Big discussion in that channel.
It's a
It
2 hour
literally
game.
had a channel.
the thing
Yeah,
is,
but I'd like
it's
click in
just
there
such
and
a,
not read it, and then it wouldn't light up
Hmm.
anymore. So the
it's such a
conversation
faithful
stopped.
remake that like there's not really much to say, right? But it
Other
hasn't
than
already been
complaining
said.
about how not faithful it is.
Well, I mean, they didn't literally fucking take the SNES game and put it on a Switch cartridge. So
They should have.
They should have made it so. They should have made it so if you 100% the game, then you can get the puppet as a character. Bruce. That would have been sick.
The
Otherwise,
puppet. Darth,
The
you're about to
puppet.
lose your spot.
his name's like Gino or something.
Okay, there you go.
Final
That's
Fantasy
his
VII
name.
is the goat.
I didn't want to say his name wrong.
It was the only
He's
one
like,
I
which-
played, so it's the goat.
Which one is 7?
All right.
I don't know them by the numbers.
Okay, let's leave Darth alone. Super yawned at him. Now we're just roasting him.
There's I don't know. I can't identify which one it is, but there's like weird like the numbering's like different in like America.
Oh yeah, you are right because 4 here, or like 2 here was 4, and then 6
3
was
was 6.
3.
Or,
Yeah.
That's why I never assume that someone's talking about one like 4-7. I'm like, what are you actually talking about?
Yeah.
Bison
Like,
is Vega.
yeah, and
Balrog
Balrog
is
is
Bison.
Akuma's Goki, and you're like, what? All right. We've gone off the rails enough bullying Darth.
The thing we said we weren't gonna do.
Let's
we just
rein
went.
this back in. Somewhere Goot is foaming at the mouth. Let's rein this back in. Would anyone like to start us off with their top 10 rankings? I can go first if like
Yeah,
anybody else.
you go first. Yeah, you go
Okay.
first.
All right, so I'm gonna start with my bottom and go up, and
Okay.
obviously this for all one of you who has watched all of these, obviously Clock Tower is my lowest, and you know I might have been a little frustrated and gave it a very, I guess, low score. 3 is a little harsh, but I probably wouldn't bump it above a 4 because ham rubbing just didn't do it for me. I didn't
And
want
you
to
did
rub
go
the
back
ham.
and finish.
I
the
did.
playthrough, right?
I did. So I gave it the respect that it deserved. I saw multiple endings. I saw the second like best ending A, because apparently there's an ending S. And like I get it. Like I appreciated it, and I still think that like the way that game's put together and like the visuals and stuff are like really good. But it's just like as enjoying the video game experience of it, it was just abysmal. So sorry, Clock Tower, but you occupy number 10 on my list.
You also got like the worst RNG in your playthrough.
I did.
Like,
I got
yeah, I
fucked
understand
up.
that.
And then it's weird. This was one of my picks, and I actually don't like hate the game that much. But number 9 is Dracula X, which there's just if you're gonna play a Castlevania game, like there's so many better ones to play. Like it's not a terrible game, but it's like you're fucking up. Like yeah, there's probably worse ones, but you're not doing well. Like it's classic style Castlevania, but maybe you don't want that annoyance. But you know, it's still Castlevania. It's all right. And then next up, Colin, I put it at 8 because of your 8. Is Croc, Legend of the Gobbos.
My man.
The game that caused Colin to rethink his scoring. But no, and again, like you could do worse than playing Croc. It's not a terrible game, but it's also not. Some of the the hit detection on attacking the hitboxes, like the way the camera kind of moves like with you turning, and then also the shoulder buttons, and I don't know, it's just, and the way levels are laid out near the end just gets kind of ugly, and it just becomes more of a chore than fun to play. So sorry, Croc, you're at number 8. Cruising up, Faxanadu or Fuzzanadu, however you want to say it. I felt fine defending this game against the joyless piece of shit's comments out there, because I don't even like NES games that much, like across the board, and I found myself kind of enjoying Faxanadu. So you touch poison, yeah, that kind of sucked, but also it felt good to get new gear, new spells, kind of gave you that progression, and I enjoyed that part. And it was, even though it was annoying at times, a lot of the times, it's still pretty decently fun to play. And then I don't know, this is where my list, I feel like, well, this is probably like the spiciest thing on my list. Number 6 is Contra 3, where I really enjoyed Contra 3, but I was talking to Colin about it, and I was like, if there's one game I might amend my score on, it's probably Contra 3, and I would lower it just a little bit, because while I was playing it, it was fun, and I enjoyed the gameplay, the tight controls, like the visuals, the music, especially what was it, stage 4 on the bike. Oh my god, that shit, always remember that. But once it became so formulaic, like get laser for top down section, get crush missiles, and homing for like normal stages, it got boring, and it would just felt like, okay, this is my strat, this is what I do, blah. And I literally went on to 1cc it on normal. No, I never went back to hard. I should have, but it just became kind of boring. It was like, this is what you do, this is the optimal strat, and the gameplay portion of it just kind of dissolved, which kind of hurt it for me. And number 5, Illusion of Gaia, the longest non-long book club game, where I like the Soul Blazer trilogy, so I was a little bit biased towards it, and I just like that kind of action, I guess you say action adventure, not really RPG, kind of like top-down type game. And story was kind of dumb, but also kind of deep, and like all the parts of it were pretty gripping. And I also played it like a moron, trying to avoid being free Donnie for the longest time, like when I didn't have to be, just playing as Will, and that kind of spiced it up a little bit. So I had a good bit of fun with it. And then number 4, our first game, everybody remembers their first, Shinobi 3, which is a fantastic game. Fantastic. And like I just remember as I was playing Shinobi 3 and like recording the gameplay footage, I was like, this is a good idea. I like Book Club. I wouldn't have played this game. like again, because I wasn't a big Genesis fan, which is gonna come back later. So I didn't play much Shinobi 3. I was like, yeah, Ninja Man, he throws shurikens, that's cool. Or kunai, excuse me, not shurikens, weaves. I apologize. And that game feels so good to play. And going over like some of the first episode, I talk about it there. Unfortunately for Shinobi 3, I have played Hagane. And if you play Hagane, Shinobi 3 feels like,
Yeah, that really puts it all into perspective, right?
yeah, it's like that
Where your
meme
number
picture
was.
where that guy is with his girlfriend walking by. And in this picture, my girlfriend was Shinobi 3 and Hagane walked by me. And I was like, oh, snap.
Shinobi 3, you're beautiful.
Yeah,
Don't
then I
be
got in trouble with
insecure, you're
Shinobi
great
3.
the way you are.
But yeah, great game. Play Shinobi 3. That remaster Sega shit that they announced at Jeff Keighley's birthday party. Like, I'm super excited for that. But then
Shinobi 3 was my girlfriend.
don't Hagane though, man. Hagane. But then number 3, a recent one in everybody's memory, KOTOR, Knights of the Old Republic, or Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic. I probably never would have played KOTOR without Book Club. I would have just thought about it and been like, oh yeah, KOTOR. It's that game that everybody loves. Star Wars. Yeah, whatever.
Sam.
Video games. But actually sitting down and playing it, I was like, oh my God. What? Like, so much so that after my first session where I spent like 4 hours playing, sent Colin a message. I was like, damn, this is the kind of game I can get my fucking teeth into. Chomp. And I'm glad I spent the almost 40 hours playing it, and I definitely want to check out the sequel. Probably will. Or do another playthrough and be half as evil as Darth and still giga evil.
Maybe don't. It'll hold you back.
Maybe.
If you have another similar game you could try.
You know, Chris, hold on. I have this note here that I'm going to bring up.
He's talking about KOTOR too.
He is talking about KOTOR too. No, let's see. Colin lovingly included this on the rankings. I mentioned Mass Effects too much. I compared it to other games without talking about the game's weaknesses and strength. And I quote from the end of the KOTOR stream, you should play Mass Effect. And I will. I promise, Chris. I promise.
Barf.
Barf.
Ooh,
Yeah,
that's
Barf
gonna
was
be
right.
fun, dude.
Mass Erect.
Stream it.
I probably would. I'm Captain Shepard, and this is the greatest ship on the Citadel, or whatever the meme was. Anyways, no more memes. Number 2, Legend of the Mystical Ninja. What? Yeah, I never would have thought I would enjoy that game so much, but everything about that game, it was fucking stupid. If I may quote Chris, 2 massive engorged raccoon dog testicles. Whereas Chris
Remember
may
like
have a
this yesterday.
negative connotation with that, mine was positive. 'Cause, like, that game was stupid. It was goofy. I loved it. It was very, like, I guess, I don't want to say, like, offensive. Because it was, like, it wasn't offensive. It was just, like, forward-facing
I was
with its, like,
offended.
Japanese kind of style, but, like, caricature-type Japanese. And the gameplay was really fun. It had weapon upgrades. The music was good. Like there was that one crazy boss fight with that top guy who like bounces back and forth, and just everything in that game was kind of like a treat. It was like a surprise every time I got through it. And I just really enjoyed playing it. The dumb mini games, like the fact that you travel to the next areas with like the resort, like the screen caps of you with I forget his name, like his homie that you can play 2-player with, Dr. Pepper,
Professor Shitface.
yeah, Professor Shitface, and like they were just really funny. It was just really enjoyable. Like I had a good time the entire time I played it. So it got a juicy score, and I could go back and probably just play that and play through it and have a good time. And number 1. My favorite video game, a little bit of bias because it was my favorite game that I picked for like us to play until maybe I made some changes. Alien Soldier, that game, it's just so, it is like the pinnacle of like feeling like good controls, feeling good while gaming. I've been trying to do Buster Force only runs. I know Colin and Colin and Holden have seen some of my Alien Soldier runs, and
you gotta beat Buster only.
I have to. I'm so close. The fucking washing machine on 7 Forces, breaking my butt, but I'll do it. But it's just like, that game feels so good to play that I could just play it with any of those dumb weapons in any way and just challenge myself to like, okay, now like, can I play around this limitation? And it feels so good to play. It's so fun. I enjoy the challenge, and I have just monkey brain that like has that itch tickled that Alien Soldier just hits it just right. So that is my number one of the games we have played.
Okay, I'll go next. If you're done, that is.
Oh yeah.
So I just have one question. During our top 10, are we making any changes to scores that we may or may not make?
Yeah, like you can
Okay, cool.
retroactively.
That's what the red
go.
scores are so far. The ones that have already been
So,
amended.
I'll do what Dang did. I'll start with number 10, my least favorite game. The same game Danny just finished talking about, Alien Soldier. Well, I would like to start up front by saying I acknowledge this game's quality. I understand that it is a good game. It is just not my type of game. It basically takes what I appreciate in older games, like in older action platformers, and kind of does away with it a little bit. Like, it feels too there's too much going on. I feel like they try and force certain mechanics a little bit too much. I don't know. I just feel like they came up with this idea in their head, and they're just like, "This is what this is," and basically, like they went nuts, and it's like, in your face, fast, everything's whoa, watch it, that's crazy. Like, no, that's not what I'm about. But I get it. It's fun.
Doom Eternal. The Doom Eternal.
Yeah, it's like Doom Eternal. It's very similar. Like, I don't know. It just reminds me so much of Doom Eternal. Like, a shit ton of mechanics. A lot of them it's very obvious where they want you to use them, and I feel like they almost kind of punish you for not using them where they're intended. But yeah, that's my number 10 with a score of 4. I don't know if that's really fair. I'll change that to a 5. I'm gonna bump that up to a 5. Because 4 is kind of that's fucked up, dude. 4, really?
That felt brutal.
Yeah. 4 is
That game, yeah, that's fucked up.
Yeah, I'll give it a
Imagine
5.
your game getting a 3, man.
I'll give it a 5. Okay, and then number 9 on my list is Croc. Man, I really wanted to like this game. Like, when I saw that Colin picked it, I was like, yeah, I've literally been meaning to play it. It has been on my list of games to play for a while. And like, when I first started playing, I was like, yeah, this is fun. This is neat. Like, it's colorful, it's cartoony, it's like you're running around as this little guy doing cool stuff, and oh god, as you keep playing it, like, things pop up and you're like, oh, that happened again. Oh, they're still doing this. Oh, is this really what they want me to do? What's this fucking camera? What's this fucking jump? What are these fucking hitboxes? Fuck you, Croc. Anyways, I didn't finish it because it was just so fucking bad. Like, I couldn't force myself to finish it. Like, normally, like, especially for book club, like, I'll try to force myself to finish something that I really don't like. But this was like, I was sitting there thinking, like every second I'm getting older. Like, I could die in my sleep tonight. Like, I'm gonna stop playing Croc right now, and do other things with my life. I gave it a 6.5 originally. I'm gonna go ahead and lower that to a 5. I think that's more fair. Lower Croc to a 5. Okay, next, number 8 on my list was Clock Tower. It's pretty low on my list, but I enjoyed it. But I enjoyed certain aspects of it, like certain parts of it. I felt it just felt nice, and like I felt engrossed in the world. Like, I know a lot of people, especially like younger people who are used to modern games, like when you're walking around in the hallway in Clock Tower and it's slow and there's no music and it's just footsteps, like people are gonna be like, "What the fuck is this? Like, why? Why? What are you doing?" Like that. Like I enjoyed that. The atmosphere in Clock Tower, like it felt. I don't want to say spooky, but it felt like they accomplished what they set out to accomplish with the world they created. Um, I like point and click adventure games. This one was a bit more on the vague side.
Rub ham, bro.
Yeah, ham rubbing. I gave it a 6.75. I think I'll leave it there. I think I'll leave it at a 6.75. It was I like when I got to the end of the game and like when I started making progress, it felt good. Like I got stuck for a while. There was a wall I hit at a certain point, but when I figured out what to do and where to go, and things started moving along, especially the part where you get to the cave and things like drastically change, you know, from the house. It's like, whoa, okay, like progress, right on, here we go. I enjoyed it overall. 6.75. I'll leave it at that because it does have severe flaws that are undeniable. Okay, so number 7 on my list, Mystical Ninja. I don't know, like this game seemed like if you told me about this game and you told me what it does and what you do in it, and you showed me screenshots of it and let me listen to the music, I'd be like, this is right down my alley. I'm gonna love this game. But there were just so many little things that it did that kind of turned me off. The sections where you're running around in town, I feel like it could have been toned down significantly and shortened and simplified. Especially like how you can just get hit out of nowhere and lose all your fucking money and your weapon downgrades. And like it counts like if you die in one of these overworld sections, like it sets you back. Like I don't know. It's like imagine if you're playing Final Fantasy, walking around a village, and you fucking die. It's like, wait, what? It's like fuck that. Um, I don't know. I really tried hard, but I just like I tried to play the mini games. I tried to get into everything the game had to offer, and it didn't click with me for one reason or another. Um, I like the boss fights a lot. The boss fights are great, very creative. They're fun. I like the side-scrolling sections. There were some parts that were a little cheap, like blind jumps and enemy placements that were obviously there to just fuck you over. It was oozing with charm though. Like it was so charming. The characters were designed very well, and I really did want to rescue what's her face. What's her face? I don't remember her name, but
Oh yeah, what's her
Princess
face?
Shithead.
Peach.
yeah.
He's related to Professor Shithead.
But yeah, I did like the little Galaga. Or not Galaga. Sorry, Chris. I'm sorry. Gradius. Like they created their own little like version of Gradius just for this game,
That's
which I
the
thought
best
was
thing in the game, easily.
it is the best thing in the game.
That massive CRT.
Humongous TV.
Yeah, the giant CRT.
I'm
That
gonna
was
play
great.
Breakout on this TV.
Yeah, I didn't like having to grind in town, and like a lot of the items that you needed were super expensive. I mean, I guess that was partially my fault because I refused to play the mini games because I just didn't, I don't know, I just didn't feel motivated or care enough to play the mini games more than once.
Spent all
I
my
gave it
money
a
playing
6.
Gradius, man.
Yeah, like Gradius didn't give you, dude. I beat the
Paid
Gradius game.
$100 for that.
Yeah, like I was like, oh, I beat it. I did it. I beat the Gradius mini game, and then it was like, thanks for playing. Get out. Like, are you fucking kidding me? Give me 100 coins, anything. But anyways, I gave it a 6.75. I guess I'll leave it. I'll leave that the way it is. Okay, so that was number 7. Next at number 6, I have Dracula X. This one is weird because the first part of the game is like super awesome Castlevania. Like the first level Like that fucking
Yeah,
music
that's what
hits.
sold me on the game. I thought it was
Mhm.
gonna be
Yeah.
amazing.
The music hits, the fires in the background. There's these giant detailed enemy sprites, and like it sounds good, it looks good, it feels like old school Castlevania. But as you keep going, it feels like they gave up like halfway, and we're just like, fuck it, just put this here and this there, and fuck you and everyone on Earth. But
Like, guys, we gotta ship this game.
yeah, I mean, we talked about it during the Dracula X episode, but they did rush it, and it was also just kind of a half-ass port of a much better game,
Yep.
Rondo of Blood. They a lot of the levels they like chopped them up without any real rhyme or reason and like glued them together to fit on the Super Nintendo cartridge. And that last boss fight is honestly one of the worst things ever in any video game. Dracula
Chris,
fight in that game.
if I may quote Chris, one big stinking Dracula fight out of 10.
Yeah, I mean, I honestly like couldn't like while I was playing the game and fighting Dracula, I was in like a constant state of like disbelief. Like, what did they playtest this? That like who said this was okay? Was it one person? Was it up to one person to say yes, or was there a group of people that agreed that this is fine? Because it was honestly shocking. But it was a product of we got to get this game out and we got to get it on shelves. We have this contract or this obligation to make this game, and we don't have a lot of time and whatever. Yeah, that's been happening since the dawn of the video game industry. It's not just something that happens in the modern industry, although it has become standard in the modern industry and expected in many ways. But anyways, I gave Dracula X a 6.5, which my god, I'm definitely lowering that fucking score. That's going down to a 5. That's going down to a 5. Actually, yeah, I'll make it a 5. Make it a 5.
Make it a 4.
No, it's not a 4. It's definitely not a 4.
It's not
Just
Clock
because-
Tower, right?
The first half of the game is great. It's fun. Fantastic. But okay, so that's number 6. At number 5, we have Faxanadu. This is a weird one because yeah, it like clearly like suffers from being created when it was created. Like it there obviously were a lot of standards in game design that had yet to be, I don't want to say discovered, but you know, implemented in game design. I don't know, I just had fun playing it. Like it yeah, it's bullshit. There's a lot of really stupid things, like when you enter a key door and then exit the key door, the door relocks.
God.
Like
Put a stick in there, bro. Come on. Like...
it just heard Chris say, "Oh my god." I don't know. I mean, I think that part of my enjoyment of that game is biased because I just really love the NES a lot. Huge fan of the NES, and the game
too.
kind of, it was like, I don't know, I don't want to say it was like made for me, but it definitely hits a part of like, it hits on like, I don't know how to say this, but it checks the boxes for me when it comes to like old school games.
Yeah, it is a very NES
Yes,
game. NES
it
ass
is.
game.
It is NES as fuck.
Mhm.
It felt good, like discovering things and like listening to like deciphering what the NPCs would tell you, and like being like, oh, that's what they meant. Wow, okay. But when you did make progress in that game, it felt good, and it felt rewarding too because like if it was a byproduct of the poor translation, I guess, or like you felt extra smart for figuring something out because the information you were given was so shitty.
What the fuck is this guy trying to tell me?
Yeah, yeah. It's like this guy told me a bunch of bullshit, and I was barely able to realize what he was saying, but I still figured it out. Yeah. The combat was, I mean, you pressed the button and the monster went and died. Whatever. I liked the progression through Like the worlds felt different. Like as you progressed, it like looked different, and it made it feel like okay, things are becoming more dangerous now. I'm progressing in my adventure. Yeah, I had heard about it before. I never played it. Actually, that's not true. I did play it once, but you know, the very beginning of the game when you have no weapon and there's that one monster
Yeah, the
and you try and
Lakitu
fight it and
or
he
the
just fucks
Spiny.
you up. Yeah, like that's back in the day, like when I was first like getting into emulation, I played it and I fought that first enemy and died, and I was like, "Wow, this is shit," and then just never played it again. But yeah, I gave Faxana a 6. I'll probably bump that up to 6.5. Go ahead and bump that up to 6.5.
Hey, that's what I did too.
Yeah. Okay, so that was number 5. At number 4, I have Contra 3. I'm a huge fan of the Contra series. But Contra 3, although I love it, it's probably my least favorite among the old Contra games. It kind of starts to have similar qualities to like Alien Soldier. Like everything's really fast and like everything's going on all at once. Whoa, watch out! Like it kind of starts to go down that road a little. Because you play the older Contras, it's like a little more subdued, a little slower and more methodical. It's like in every aspect. Like in Contra 3, your default weapon is a machine gun that's just like like it shoots so fast, and I don't know. I feel like that's just too much at once. Like let me work up to that, right? Like in Contra 1 and Super C, you start out with your little semi-automatic pea shooter, and it felt like it had more impact. Like because in Contra 3, you just walk around holding down the button, and like an enemy appears on the screen and just instantly explodes. Like nah, I like seeing the enemy and then reacting to it with a button press. It feels more impactful and more meaningful. But that being said, I love Contra 3. It's great. It's really fucking hard, especially if you play it on hard mode. And no surprise, right? You do have to play it on hard mode to get the true ending, which is kind of annoying. But for a game like Contra and a series like Contra, I get it because part of the appeal of Contra is its difficulty and being able to say, "I overcame this obstacle. I did this." It's like a notch on your belt, right? I beat Contra 3 on hard mode.
I am the video gamist.
Exactly. I think it's an accomplishment. Like if you beat Contra 3 on hard mode, that's fucking A. Hell yeah, dude.
Yeah.
That's badass. The music is pretty good for the most part. And I feel like it's like skirting a fine line between like mediocre and like just above mediocre when it comes to games like Contra anyways. I feel like the reason it's so much more fast paced and in your face because they're trying to show off the new hardware, right? With the Super Nintendo, like look how many things can happen on screen at once. Everything's going crazy, explosions, rapid fire machine guns, aliens everywhere. Super Nintendo.
That's a good
But I
point.
get it.
I don't know if it's necessarily them trying to show off as it is they're super excited about the new hardware as well.
Yeah,
As a
like maybe
developer.
not showing off, but taking advantage of the new
Right.
capabilities of the new hardware. Which I think a lot of like games back then kind of have that. I don't want to call it a trope, but like that aspect of design where they're like, we have this new hardware, let's fucking take advantage of it. Let's focus super hard on this new thing we have. And in this case, it was just more horsepower, basically. Kind of like with Nintendo 64 and PlayStation, everything had to be 3D. 2D games all suck. 2D's bad. No 2D, boo.
Yeah, but it gave us the
It's-
Crocs of the world.
Exactly.
The Blunder era.
Someone should demake Croc.
Someone should just fucking fix the camera and hitboxes, and it'd be great. But anyways,
Be great. Would it really be great?
Yes.
by great,
Yeah,
when I say
alright.
great, I mean it'd be great. Yeah, that's great. Whatever,
It's
great.
It'd be
It-
better
it
than
would-
Mario 64.
It'd be more
Anything could be
charming
better
anyways.
than
Even Croc right now.
You should just
I'll
shut
think
up.
about. I'll think about that answer.
Listen, hey, it's my turn to talk. Don't talk shit about Mario 64 when it's my turn.
On my time.
This game's a masterpiece. I forgot what I was saying because I'm so offended by the Mario 64 comments. What was I talking about? Contra?
Using the hardware to the max. Yeah.
Right. One funny thing I remember, I was reading I was on Twitter and I saw like a little screenshot of I think it was EGM, and they were talking about Symphony of the Night and Castlevania 64, and they were talking about how Castlevania 64 is just objectively superior in every possible way. And you should just throw Symphony of the Night in the garbage because it's 2D. And we live in a 3D world now. It's like looking back on that, it's like, oh, Jesus, no, not even close. But I gave Contra 3 an 8, which I think is a little high. I don't know why I gave it an 8. I must have been like fucking something was wrong with me that night, obviously. But it's really good. But I don't think it deserves an 8. I would give it a 7. 7. Bump it down to 7. I think 7 is it's still good, but it's acknowledging that it's kind of like a little more towards mediocre than greatness. All right, next on my list at number 3 is Shinobi. Man,
We'd love to see Shinobi.
I had wanted to play this game for such a long time. It was another one of those games where I played like a few minutes of messing around with emulators, and I was like, wow, this is cool. Maybe I'll play it someday. Fast forward 50 years, here we are in book club, and I'm finally playing it, and I liked it quite a bit. Like, it felt so good to play. Once you got used to the controls and you understood like how to navigate certain obstacles and like climbing on the pipes and kind of the different elevation thing, like how you can jump up and down platforms, and you felt like you're like in a rhythm, like a flow, like you felt like a ninja. Like, let me dive kick this guy, and then while I'm in the air, I'll throw a thing at this guy, and he explodes, and then I'll catch onto this platform and flip up and do a little slide kick, and it just felt really cool. It felt awesome. Music was fucking amazing. The art was amazing. Just the pacing, the level design in general. And then when you talk about level design in games like in old 2D games, like platformers, I think you have to look at things kind of under a microscope, like the more subtle aspects, because it's just a 2D plane, right? You're going from left to right or right to left. So I feel like back then they had to be a little more methodical and thoughtful when making levels and stages and environments, because when you have a 3D space to work with, I mean, it's just like, obviously, like, I don't have to state room and possibilities, and pretty much everything is there's you know what I'm trying to say. But with things like Shinobi, it's like enemy placement is very important. Like ramping up difficulty, you introduce one mechanic, you do it safely, let the player figure out how it works, and then slowly introduce danger with that mechanic. Let the player use that mechanic, show what they've learned, while simultaneously trying to avoid hazards or fighting enemies. And I feel like Shinobi did that very, very well. I gave that game a 7.5. I'm going to bump it up to an 8. Give it an 8. I definitely think it deserves an 8. I mean, the fucking surfing level, dude. Come on, bro. That alone, it's like, are you kidding me? How badass is this?
Could have been surfing on the horse.
That's what I meant, the horse surfing level. What do you think I was talking about?
It's a secret optional level.
So that was my number 3 pick. At number 2, we have Knights of the Old Republic. This game took like I went into it thinking this is going to be good because my whole life I'd heard nothing but good things. and I'm a huge Star Wars fan. We'll just leave it at that. I don't want to go on any tangents. And I thought it was gonna be like a kind of, well, it was whatever, mediocre, slow-paced RPG where it's like, hey, neat Star Wars lightsaber, lasers, Chewbacca. But I was really genuinely shocked at how much I cared about the characters and how much I got into the world. Even like the side quests, like helping NPCs, like I got into that. Like I don't know if you remember at the beginning of the game that really weird side quest with the lady and her sex droid.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, dude, that was
Yeah.
crazy.
That
Listen, it was a
not-
companion droid. Please.
It
Wait,
was a neck massager, right.
right.
But like even then, I was like, dude, like this lady, like poor fucking lady, like she's devastated. Like putting myself in her shoes, like I gotta help her. And then I found the droid, and he was like, please, no, don't make me go
Just
back.
mercy kill me.
And like that, like things like that too, where I'm like, oh wait a minute, maybe like this isn't as simple as it seems on the surface. Wow. Super cool. And then the part, it's the same planet Dantooine where you have to solve the murder by
Mhm.
questioning everybody. I thought that was really cool. Like just like the whole game was full of like these little nuggets that when you like when you really dive into it, it's like a lot more rich and deep than you first thought. And I really appreciated that. And I appreciated how many possibilities there were. Like that's a game that you can't just play once. I mean, you can obviously, but like if you want to experience everything it has to offer, you can't just play it once. Even if you're doing multiple like light side playthroughs, like an example being like you step off of the Ebon Hawk and you just happen to have Karth in your party, and someone's like, "Hey, Karth, how's it going? Remember me? I'm whatever from the place," and like you would never have seen that if you didn't have Karth at that exact moment, and it leads down this big old side quest, and it's just super cool. And I kept thinking to myself, like, wow, I should put these people in my party just so I can see what's going on with them, right? But I got to the point where I just stopped caring about a lot of the characters because I don't know. I guess because I like the other characters so much, I'm like, this is good enough.
Tired of
These
all
other
those
guys
other
can-
meat bags.
These other guys could fuck off. Like Cat Lady, I don't even remember her fucking name.
Jo-
I literally never used her
Johanna,
once.
Johari,
Yeah. I beat
Joanna
the shit out
Dark.
of her on Dantooine, and then they're like, "Take her with you. She's annoying. Take her away."
It kind of leans into Karth and Bastila in a way that
Yeah, it does.
makes you want to pick them all the time.
Well, yeah, obviously because they're like the main, like in your overarching mission of the game, they're like the main players. And they're the first characters you get.
Yeah,
Well, I
so
mean,
maybe
mission,
could've
you get mission
incorporated the
first,
other
but
characters a bit better.
yeah, I don't. I really fucking loved Knights of the Old Republic. Like I found it so rich with content, and it wasn't just filler content, in my opinion. Like it was satisfying. Even the swoop races. Like I was there, like fucking, like I gotta do this. Like even like, and it wasn't even really a race. You just drive down a fucking straight line and hit boosts. But yeah, like everything about it, even like the murder trial on the last, well, not it's not the last part of the game, but it was my last part on what's that planet, Manon, that huge murder trial.
Mm-hmm.
Like even that, like that was fun. And you learn about like how the Republic and the Sith coexist on this neutral planet because of this precious resource. Like they really built a huge, rich, engrossing world that pulls you in and makes you care about what's happening. And even like some of the weaker points, like the combat, being extremely simple. I agree, it is very simple, but if you like make an effort to explore the different options and detail and variety in the combat, you can make it not so simple. I mean, it's not necessary. If you want to just brute force it, you can, but you can spice it up a little. You know, make it a little more fun. I found myself doing that, and I felt like a fucking badass Jedi. Like I'd enter a room, freeze frame. There's like five guys. They're like, "Oh shit," and like on unpause, the droids explode. One guy freezes, the other guy's spinning around in the air, and then I'm just like with my lightsaber and fuck up the rest of them. I loved it. Fucking loved it. I gave it an 8.75. I'm gonna leave it. Leave it. No, you know what? Yeah, we'll leave it at 8.75. Okay. Number 1, Illusion of Gaia.
Single tear
Yeah.
rolls down Colin's eye.
Illusion of Gaia, easily number 1 for me. By God. Like, not only did this game do a lot of the things that KOTOR did that I mentioned, like world building, making me care about characters, but it fucking shocked me and surprised me. Like, there are moments in that game where I was legitimately like, whoa, 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 what? You can't do that. You can't say that on TV. Like, when what's his name burns to death.
Oh God, the
What a weird
jackal.
scene, dude.
The jackal, yeah, dude. I honestly was I literally, my jaw literally dropped when that part happened. Like, and it's like, even with like modern games, it's hard for that to happen with me. Like, where I'm shocked and I can't believe what I'm looking at. It's a fucking Super Nintendo game, dude. And then there's other parts, like, what's his name? The pig. I forgot the pig's name.
Hamlet.
Yeah, Hamlet. When he fucking cooks himself to feed the starving village.
He's
My
a real one, dude.
God, dude.
The entire
and
game lives rent free in my head.
Yeah, for real.
the village part, dude. Like, oh my God, dude. Like, that was the most heavy, fucked up, depressing shit ever, dude. Like, these people are just, they know nothing but misery. And they're constantly, like, starving and in pain. And, like, the game, like, it has so many, like, what's the word I'm looking for? Like, you have that extreme, and then you have, like, the weird angel people who live underground. And, like, they have no emotions. Like, the game just presents you with so many, like, heavy, thought-provoking ideas. And, like, for a Super Nintendo game, that's rare. For any game, really, that's rare, I think. And they accomplished it very well. The combat is a ton of fun. I didn't mind the backtracking so much, but, like, just in general, I don't mind backtracking in games. I know a lot of people hate it, but I don't mind it. I think it makes it feel like a more concrete world, because you're running around like this area, and it makes it feel like, instead of just going in one direction and never seeing this area again, you have to go back. Because that's what real life's like, right? Like, you're not like constantly moving forward, and you never see certain places again. Like, it makes it feel like you need to go back to, because something you do changes something else. And I don't know, I just like that feeling in games where your actions can alter previous environments, or build like new items or abilities you get, grant you access to once inaccessible places. But yeah, anyways, I don't mind backtracking so much, and that game didn't do it too much. It definitely did, but it wasn't too bad. The difficulty was kind of weird, because a lot of the boss fights were like easy, really easy, and then they had that one weird vampire fight.
Fuck that thing.
That was really hard for no
Use those
reason, out
herbs.
of nowhere. Yeah, and like, even like that part where they're like traveling through the cave and like they're lost at sea, that goes on fucking forever. Like, I liked that. Like, I liked it. They used it as an opportunity to build the characters. They showed how Will has, grown and become stronger. And I like the monologue, getting a peek at the characters' minds and what they think and how they feel about what's going on. And I don't know. I just, for a Super Nintendo game, I feel like that kind of attachment to characters is rare. But I definitely liked all the characters. The message, like the overall message of the game, was like, I don't know. I loved it. I really enjoyed everything the game had to offer. I appreciate how they presented the player with so many thought-provoking and heavy scenarios, like the gambling part. in the floaty raft town. I forgot what it was called. And like you play the game like this game of death with this guy, and you win, and he fucking dies. And then you go talk to his fucking wife, dude, and like she gives you his shit, and she's like, "I get it, like you know that's
Take
just the way it
chocobo
goes."
camels and go west.
The chocobo camel. Yeah, but I was shocked at how much I loved it. Maybe not shocked because, well, Soul Blazer is a game that exists, and it is the previous one. Yeah, but that's maybe why I wasn't exactly shocked, because Soul Blazer is a game that exists.
It does. It's a video game.
And I was really glad to finally play it, because Soul Blazer exists. Yeah, definitely my favorite game out of all the ones we've played. I gave it an 8.75. You know what I'm gonna do?
Do it.
Oh my
He's
god.
gonna do it.
No way.
Open it up to 9.
Oh, he did
No
it.
way.
9.
Hell
Absolutely.
yeah, man.
Colin,
And,
let me see both your hands.
What?
Hand check. Hand check.
Nice.
And check.
Colin's just crying right now.
I'm looking at
Oh.
the picture of you in Discord. I can't.
Okay, that's understandable, sir.
Yeah, so yeah, that's basically that's my top 10 and my reasoning behind, and my adjusted scores.
I have a question for you. Sorry.
Sure.
Did you? Because I started to adjust your scores live as you were saying them, but not at the start. Did you adjust Alien Soldier from a 4 to something else?
I gave it a 5.
Okay.
Give it
got
an 8.
And
He's lying.
Clock Tower was a 6.75.
Yes, I kept Clock Tower the same.
Okay, cool. Can I go next? I'm gonna keep mine pretty
Sure.
short, but
Go
I just
for it.
want to. I want to go next. So I'm gonna start from the top, actually, best to worst. And I was gonna do a little, like, try to write out some thoughts on each of these, so I would just be reading things I had actually had a chance to think about, but ran out of time. So we'll get to more of those towards the bottom of the list, where I started my comments. Anyway, so number 1 for me was KOTOR. I had a chance listening to what Super was talking about with KOTOR just now, and then reflecting back on what I said about it last time, and really my only main quibble with the game is the combat. And I know Super was saying like there is strategy there, and I agree, there is. Like you can maybe with the difficulty settings, you can like go to hard mode, you can make the encounters more spicy and have to really engage with the mechanics more. But I think for me, like, I really dislike the feel of the combat, and I'm such a I can play a game for like 3 seconds and know whether I'm gonna like it or not. I heard good things about this like Grand Blue Fantasy Relink anime Monster Hunter style game that just kind of got a demo recently. This is a
That's a
tangent, but
slippery slope.
well, I don't know. I heard people comparing it to Monster Hunter. I'm not saying it was, but anyway, like, so I played this demo for 5 seconds in combat and was like, nah, nope, hard no, and it's something just about how it controls and how it feels. It's very much like an intuitive yes or no for me, so I think for me it's like I could have engaged more with the combat and the mechanics and the strategy, but I really didn't like the combat and how it was built and how the encounters worked, and some of the difficulty of the encounters just felt like, and maybe this is a skill issue, like certain ones felt gimmicky, with like the Dark Jedi jumping you and everybody swirling, all that stuff. Anyway, like, it had really great strengths in like character writing. Not all the characters, of course. Like, I'm Big Z is not as good as Karth in terms of his character writing and what his story does, but also like his role in the party, right? And how his story affects that and you as the player, but also how their, like, Karth's story versus Big Z, for example, fleshes out the lore and the setting of the game and the galaxy and the history and the war and all that stuff, right? So Karth as a character on one end is like knocks all those out of the park, as well as being like a really cool personality, and the interactions with him are fantastic, and you don't like get to his resolution by talking to him like just a few times. You have to talk to him over and over and over and kind of spin your wheels like, I'm not gonna like backstab you, bro, and then you might, but we won't talk about that. But like compare that to some of the other characters, it's just not equal, and that's why like my score for the game, in addition to the combat, like the highest it gets for me, and I adjusted my score after the fact. It's an 8.25 for me now instead of a 7.25, because just like everything but the combat and a little bit of inconsistency with the character rating, what brought it down. For me, second best was Illusion of Gaia. I'm gonna keep this one really short because Super said everything I wanted to say about it. I did have a thought though when you were talking, Super, about monologue, like the monologue of Will on the raft, and it made me think that like I don't know how many, and the kinds of games I like are games like this, games like KOTOR, where there's the strong focus on narrative, and I don't know that there's many games that really do monologues like that. And I'm not talking like a character talking to other characters for an extended period of time. Like that's one thing and that's cool, and then it does its own thing. But I'm talking specifically like there's a lot of like in Will's head writing that you get in Illusion of Gaia, and I just think that's really cool. I always felt like, despite the game generally speaking having a shitty translation and being really held back in terms of like how it could really deliver on the potential of its setting, and the translation holding that back, like I really still feel like it did a great job. And the monologues are a side point, but I really thought they were cool when they happened, like the stream of consciousness thoughts you would get from Will and maybe the other characters. You guys have talked about, and I don't want to make this a discussion just yet because we're not really doing that, but I don't recall there being too much backtracking, like in isolation in the dungeons. Yes, they were sort of.
Yeah, that's what I was referring to.
Yeah,
like when you press a switch and have to run back and stuff like that.
And I guess that never really bothered me, but I could see it being annoying, especially if you're like getting clowned on by the enemies or don't have a bunch of herbs and whatever. I can see it. So, but visually and like the music, I really like the music. I know in the episode, and I kind of have a memory for what we all said for these because I went through and listened to all of this for the scores. But everybody said the music was kind of like whatever, but I really liked it. Not a whole lot of diversity, not a whole lot of tracks, but I really liked all of them. So anyway, that one's gonna sit at an 8.15 for me. Just reading the chat. Sorry. Number 3 is Contra. Toward the middle of the pack of my ratings, I kind of struggled to differentiate between like what really gets an 8, what really gets a 7.5. So this caused me a little anxiety, but I really had a great time with Contra 3. It was a childhood game for me. I'm going to say I strongly disagree with what Danny said about it being formulaic and everything having a prescribed solution, because I played through most of the game with the homing missiles because I'm an idiot. But it worked, and I had a fun time doing it. And I didn't go into every level thinking, oh, I should really be using the laser, or oh, the crash missiles are good. I thought the crash missiles were dumb. I didn't like how they sounded. I didn't like how they looked. I didn't like how they fired. I didn't like how, and I'm sort of slightly being contrarian, but just for the point, right? Like I didn't like the amount of time they were on the screen in terms of a hitbox, because I found that sometimes the game was throwing enemies at me too much, that if I like fired in the wrong time with the crash missile, I might not be able to fire again. I think, if I'm remembering how it worked correctly, like I might just get hit or need to quickly switch to a different weapon. So I liked lower damage weapons that had constant hitboxes, like the flamethrower. Personally, worked better for me
too.
Yeah. So, but and Super, I know you said it there. It's faster paced than most Contra games. This is the only Contra game I've played, so it's funny. It's like that's what I think Contra is it's a fast paced shooter, but clearly not, and that's cool. But I really like the frenetic pace of it, even on sections that are like auto scrolly, kind of like going up the wall in the third level. It's like it feels fast. There's a lot of like micro movements you have to do, and you can like bait where the attack is going to go by certain placements. So it's like very active mechanically. And then the music was always great. The level design was, I never felt like it was like unfair. Maybe like the highway bike helicopter level was a little and I'm not a huge fan of that level, but generally it wasn't super like unfair. It's tough, and I didn't play it on hard because I'm a little baby. I played it on normal, and I had a good time. So I gave that an 8 at the time, and it's gonna stick. So moving on, gonna put Alien Soldier as game number 4. I had it as an 8, and I took it down to a 7.75. Just almost like by point of comparison, I just felt like it wasn't as good for me as Contra. I don't have a whole lot to back that up, but I just look back on it less fondly. I had not as much fun with it. And I can sort of appreciate what Super is saying with it being like, yes, to Danny's point, you can beat the game. I don't think it's possible, blaster only or whatever. We'll have to find out.
Let me show you.
We'll have to find out. But like, you can use all the weapons, but I don't know, I didn't really get a whole lot of enjoyment out of experimenting. I just kind of found like the one set of weapons that I like to use. I guess it's kind of like Contra, so maybe I'm being a hypocrite. But anyway, and it rewarding specific play styles, like trying to keep your health up so you could always do the fire dash, which was by far the best DPS you could do, including having like ridiculous iframes and positional advantage just by splitting the screen, so I can see that, and I can reflecting back on my time playing it, I did spend a lot of time just trying to stay at full health, and that so I could use the Firebird as opposed to just trying to stay alive. So but it did have a lot of great things going for it. I thought the boss fights were really really interesting. It was a really neat take on boss versus level design as far as like spacing them all out. I don't think I've ever played a game like that where there were bosses and a level between, and the level was like 2 seconds and a dude. And then there's another boss.
Here's 3
It's
dudes. Here's a boss.
Yeah, it's like, I mean, clearly they were there to rebuild your health because of how that system played into the gameplay and the game balance, but it was still neat. From what I recall of the music, it was appropriate. It was bumping. It was fast. It was fun. The levels were interesting looking, and there's that like crayfish boss with the little dude who says "Let's go" or whatever. That's pretty cool.
Let's go.
Yeah, let's go. So anyway, not too much of a difference from my normal score or from my original score of 8. Just sort of dampening it a little bit to a 7.75. Next, game 5 is Legend of the Mystical Ninja. This is where I started to have a little bit of things to say that I wrote down. This is a very charming, very fun game outside of towns. In towns, it's annoying with an item economy system that largely felt superfluous and a zerg of respawning enemies, which is just the antithesis of fun. It felt like the enemies were there. I'm just thinking about this now. It feels like the enemies were there to serve the purpose of the economy, but the economy didn't really make much sense and wasn't really very interesting to me. And I would have just liked the game much more without the towns in between. Like, they could have fit the charm that you could get from interacting with the people in the town, which was largely boring for me because they just didn't really say much that was interesting. They could have like found a way to build that into like a little bit of longer cutscenes or something where you would have gotten to see more of the main characters, something like that. I don't know. Anyway, though, the levels were really fun. I didn't feel like anything was too hard or unfair or janky. The boss fights were were all very interesting. Sorry, Holden. But yeah, I had a really, really good time with this game. I really didn't like the bifurcation of town versus like level. It felt very disruptive, and I never wanted to do the towns. I always just wanted to get back to like kicking ass, and it felt like doing the enemies in the town was just like, I'm just trying to get back to the level. I realize there are enemies here I can fight. I don't want to fight them, So I gave that, I believe, an 8 at the time, and it's down to a 7.5, just having a little bit of time to reflect on what I didn't like about it. Everybody's going to laugh at me, and you should, but the next game, well, no. Hang on, I got ahead of myself. The next game on the list is Shinobi. It also got a 7.5. That was my original score, and it's where I think it's happy to be. I don't have a whole lot to say about this game. I look back on it, and while I recall having a pretty good time playing it, there's not really much that makes it special to me in my mind, and there's not really much about it that makes me want to go back and play it. It's I was in the chat earlier. I compared it to like eating vanilla ice cream. Like it's sweet and it's ice cream, and I like ice cream, but it's whatever, you know. Like it's totally fine, a good time, I suppose, but not what I would go out of my way to play. Both, I guess, in terms of genre, but now that I'm 35, not really what I like to play anymore. But also in terms of like, if there's a game like that I'm gonna play, I'm gonna go play like Turtle Time or something, that I like better. So, anyway, moving on to Giga Cringe, game number number where are we at? This is the bottom 4. So game number 4 out of 10 is Croc for me. I gave this an 8 at the time, and that's embarrassing. I gave it a 7 now, and I think that's still too high, but I'm not going any lower on principle. What I wrote is that I overlook many of the game's flaws because of my nostalgia for it, as well as its I called it a pioneering position as an early 3D home console platforming game. That's
factually incorrect.
Okay. Well,
sorry.
Fuck you. So I said the flaws are obviously include controls, camera, later in the game level design with backtracking, and samey/confusing level design, simplistic and janky bosses in combat. But for me personally, the game absolutely exudes charm, both in sound and visuals, and was for the most part fun to play. Chris, why am I wrong about it being a pioneering position?
You just said it's early. It feels it's a little later than came out after Mario 64.
So it was 97. I think, what did we say in the episode? It was like a year after Mario
97.
64.
I just mentioned it because one of the things I found kind of surprising was that it was a 97 game, and it felt more like, I don't know.
Like late 95, early 96.
Yeah.
Fuck,
Like
you guys
Bug
know
or
the difference
something on
between that shit? Y'all are crazy.
We were alive back then. Unlike you.
That's true. Sorry guys. Yeah, well, I'll piss on your grave.
I'll haunt your ass.
No. Okay, so that's fair. So not pioneering, but it is still relatively early. So
Yeah.
Anyway, that's Croc.
Sorry to interrupt you just to shit on your ideas.
No, I mean, it's fair. I asked Danny what he thought about that word, and
Dude, Croc is gonna get swung on till the end of time.
I love it. But that's one of the reasons I picked it, because like I had never beaten it, and I thought it was fun as a kid, and I was like, this is gonna be a hoot, to talk about. Okay, so game 3 of 10, Faxanadu. I gave this maybe a 7. I don't remember. Let me see. Yeah, it was a 7 originally, and it got kicked to a 6.5. I wrote that it has a lot of cool ideas. I'm not sure how ahead of its time it was, as I'm not super familiar with its immediate contemporaries within the same genre, but the novelty and impact of those ideas was held back by obnoxious enemy placement, short choices like like using the keys as a system, doors and keys. Although maybe the developers, it's hard to really call it short-sighted given the time it came out. They didn't have 35 years of game development history to look back on to decide what to do versus not do. Also, really difficult bosses, in my opinion. I just was dying over and over again most of the game to the bosses. So they're really difficult from a casual perspective. And I feel like their difficulty was to reinforce the existence of the gearing system. And I personally failed to do that consistently. Well, no, I did it consistently, but I didn't like upgrade my magic at one point, and it was at a point where I really needed it, and it made one boss fight for you guys like pretty tame. But I died to it for like at least an hour. Just I forget what it was. It was like the Dwarf King or something like that. It was a really bad time. As we joked during the episode itself, a Faxanadu DX would be cool. Specifically, something like a version of the game or a spiritual successor or like a remake. That's for you, Chris. With some quality of life stuff added. Like, how about a damn map? And why can't I get rid of keys? And why are dwarves huge?
Or like combat whistle blow.
Dude, those dwarves are massive. They're not dwarves. They're dragons.
Whoa!
Are you body shaming them?
No, I'm saying they're inappropriately named.
Oh. Oh. Oh.
Maybe
I see.
maybe the idea is that they were like really they were like like dwarf height, right? But then like whatever meteor they interacted with made them grotesque and huge or something. That's what happened to me last week. Anyway, yeah, I didn't upgrade my shield. Leave me alone. Game number 2 on the list is Clock Tower. It earned a 5 at the time, and it stays with a 5. I feel like this is a game I originally wrote out of its time, but I'm just gonna say it's ahead of its time and held back in vision by the console for which it was made. Perhaps if I played a different version of the game with a better UI, more well telegraphed interactables, either via higher fidelity or enhanced UI, then it had been more favorable toward the game as far as the gameplay experience is concerned. But as it stands, the artistic vision of the game and the atmospheric tension via sound and visuals it creates, both of which were compelling and interesting, are ultimately drowned out by a consistently frustrating and grating player experience.
Well put.
You're just mad because you got killed by the bird.
Listen, rubbing the ham didn't do anything.
You're right.
Really didn't.
Oh man,
I never even. That's the worst part. I've never even used the damn.
I did die to the bird. That's my favorite part of my playthrough, actually. Somehow, I was the only one. Like, you guys were like, "Wait, you can die to the bird?" That fucker ate my face.
Like,
Yeah,
I
I
died
died
to the
too.
parrot, dude. Get a load of this.
She just ran back and forth for like 45 seconds until she died.
Freaking out, this
Leave
parrot.
the room, dude. Leave the room.
Little bird.
Anyway, okay. Nobody's surprised here. Well, maybe Danny's surprised. Castlevania, Dracula Ek, bottom of the list, last and least, gets a 4. It earned a 4, and that's what it deserves.
Oh my god.
Truly a stinker of a game. Sorry, this is the first one I wrote. I had fun. I can't really, in good conscience, grade this game any higher given its weaknesses, nor lower than because of greater weaknesses of even worse games. To be fair, it doesn't feel like much of an exaggeration to say that the only good thing about this game is the music. The visual aesthetics of the game are seldom inspired, although to be fair, when they are good, they are good. The level design is frustrating and uninspired on a level-by-level basis, and in the context of the game as a whole, there doesn't appear to be any underlying vision guiding the design other than her make game hard. The controls are fine, I guess, but a step backwards in flexibility and freedom compared to earlier games in the series, and their rigidity makes the frustrating level design and enemy placement that much more egregious. Boss fights are occasionally cool, but altogether pretty forgettable. And then there's Dracula, which I said on the original episode was probably the worst boss encounter I've ever suffered through, and I still think that's accurate. This game, this game does a few things right, and those few things make it tolerable, but just barely. I never plan on playing this game again. How Super felt about Croc, I feel about this game. In terms of like, I only have so much time on this planet.
Is Dracula X really worth it?
I don't want to do this. So that's my list. Thank you for listening.
Beautiful.
I just want to add, I know I said this when we were doing the Dracula X episode. You really should take the time to try to play a better Castlevania game.
Yeah, when's Simon's Quest?
What was
Oh,
Castlevania 4?
Super's
played
like,
Castlevania 4, yes.
Yeah.
I highly recommend. I think you'd like Castlevania 4 because it doesn't have like stiff controls. Like you can change your jump arc and you can whip up in different directions.
Well, it has the chic whip from Melee.
Ooh, well, that's the first one I ever. Well, I might have played Symphony of the Night when I was younger, but that's the first one I really remember playing. I was Discord streaming it a few years ago, and I had a great time. And then I went to play Castlevania Dracula X. I was like, oh, it's gonna be like even better than that.
Yeah.
Yep.
Good times.
All right,
Chris,
Chris,
either of
Holden,
you.
Colin, Darth.
I can go next.
Mhm.
Okay, I'm gonna do it from shittiest to least shittiest.
Oh my goodness. Okay.
That's my scaling. Okay. And mine is 9 because I didn't play Shinobi, and honestly, I think it's kind of cringe that you guys all rated it the same. So I'm glad that.
Listen,
Let's-
Holding gave
Yeah,
it a
you would have given it a
7.75.
sneaky 3.
Uh-huh,
I bet,
yeah,
right?
yeah, I
Let's
probably
beat
would
up
have.
Gareth.
So, probably surprising nobody. My least favorite on the list was Faxanadu because I thought that game was shit. I expected it to be kind of like Zelda 2, which I really like, and it was not like that. It had like very little nuance in any of the fights, and the bosses were like kind of cool looking, but then you like died in 2 hits, which was stupid. And the equipment ended up being not as cool as I expected, to be honest. Like that's what I heard before I played the game. I was like, oh, that was like the only thing about it I think that was like at all interesting. I will say, out of all the games, I can't remember many tracks, but I do remember the music that plays when you go into like the stores, like the do 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 do. Yeah, but otherwise not very interesting. I gave it a 3, and it will remain a 3 because it was
Holy
trash.
shit.
And
Trash.
it was trash. And then after that, I chose for I guess number 8, Dracula X. I expected it to be like, I've played some of the more like much newer ones, and I played the first one, and I was like, okay, I kind of expect it to be like, not quite as advanced as the newer ones. It just ended up being really like you guys said, like stiff, and like the first level was cool, and the music was good in that level, but it was like a remix, right? So it's like not even really that impressive that it was good. I only remember the werewolf boss fight as being cool, to be honest.
It was
And
cool.
I literally walked into the Dracula fight, and after I died the first time, I started save stating because I was like, "Oh fuck that, no." That was so stupid. I really didn't like that game very much. So yeah, but the score definitely remains for that one. Methinks. And then Clock Tower. I thought Clock Tower was cool. It was because it was kind of like initially, anyways, because it was a genre I hadn't seen on like more retro games, and I felt like it did the atmosphere really well at the start. But I will stand by the fact that the pointless like hours, especially towards like the mid to late section of the game, of running around trying to like find what to do next, totally destroyed the tension that the game was trying. That like I think all horror games try to create, and I believe that it really screwed itself over there. I just like at the very start, I was going into new rooms. There's like a crazy parrot. I found someone dead in a shower, and then I was getting chased by a scissor man, and I was like, "This is crazy." And then like after that, I was like, "Oh, this is that room again." Okay. And then nothing bad ever happened unless I clicked on something. So I was literally like spending 90% of the game bored and just like looking for things to click.
Yeah, but then you came back to the bedroom, found Colin's dead body next to the
And
parrot.
then
You're like,
I rubbed my
"No."
I rubbed my ham on his
No.
corpse.
Wait, what?
But the score there for Clock Tower being a 4 stays there, because I think it was like unique, but otherwise I think it shot itself. Then after Clock Tower, I have Croc, and I have changed my score dramatically for this game. I
Oh,
originally
no.
scored it high because I felt bad that I didn't finish it,
No.
but I think that actually makes it better for me. And I feel like at the end of the day, like all the platforming was me trying to like line myself up in a straight line at the next jump, and that looking back, that got old really fast. Especially when it was like you were jumping on a platform that disappeared, and you're like, "Fuck, I gotta get the camera facing the right way here so I can press forward in X again." Not much else to say. I changed the score from 7, 5. So it's getting a
Wow.
yeah. I think I scored that way.
That's appropriate.
Yeah, I think it's better now. Okay, and then after Croc is was Illusion of Gaia. Okay, I disliked this game more than you guys because I thought the batch tracking was annoying. and I got lost many times after getting to a switch and being like, where the fuck am I? Especially that place after they get out of the cave and before the vampires, man. I've all these games. I was actually yelling at my screen running around that area. Like, I'm not joking. I was
It's like the water
yelling.
temple.
Yeah, I was screaming. Like I like messaged Holden. I was like, do we have to finish these games?
I remember that.
And he was like, you should probably talk to Danny and Colin about this. And I was like, so I beat it, and I'm glad I did because there were some really cool underlying themes. Like what really blew me away was how at the very start of the game, you go to the castle and you're like, the king has the carpet, and it takes 50 years to make, and you're like, whoa, this guy's a big deal. And then you go at the end of the game to the village and you find these women work on these carpets for their entire lives. And that combined with like the villagers, and just like some of the other parts that you guys mentioned, I was like, damn, this game was really had some interesting things to say about stuff that I care about. But other than that, the gameplay, if it turned it into an RPG, it would have probably gotten like 7, be an 8, honestly. I'm not joking. So that's that game. Then number 4, I have Mythical Ninja. That game was fun. I thought that it had pretty good platforming and honestly really interesting sections. Like I remember the section where like things were like spinning around or were on those gigantic balls, not the raccoon ones. And
Wait, you were on those?
I had to get that safe,
Okay. Okay.
one way or another.
Sorry.
And sorry. I did really not like the economy though. Like I just found myself like playing the whack-a-mole game for like 30 minutes. I was like, wait, this is so stupid. And I just completely circumvented it by cheating at the gambling hall. Because it made no difference in my experience. If I had played the game without save states, I probably would have disliked it more because I don't know why, but I felt like if I was going into the next section, I had to be like as strong as I could possibly. I had to have all the stuff, and it felt like there was no reason not to. Because I don't know, I felt like the game was like minorly difficult enough. It wasn't like super hard, but I felt like I had to gear up, and I felt like gearing up was annoying. And like I didn't like how you could like lose your stuff by taking damage. I think like there's that. I forget the name of the game, but like you're like the robot, and you like when you take damage, you like lose levels on your gun. Um, it's okay because you can like get that back by like playing the game more and playing well. But it was just like, well, now I have to go play whack-a-mole and buy more fucking sandals and a pizza, and then like 10 minutes later, I would just go in.
It was way too close to real life
I
for
didn't really
you.
also like connect with like the like mini games that the anime girl let you play because I don't know care for that stuff. That was probably cooler for you guys.
No, I
and then
hated it too.
No, you liked it.
Oh, okay.
And then number 3. Okay, this is like the top 3. This number 3 and number 2 are hard for me, but I had to put Alien Soldier at number 3. And hear me out. I changed the score to 8.0. But just wait. More on that later. I felt like the game was super sick, with like a lot to learn. Like I liked how you could basically like parry things. I thought that the boss fights were super awesome. I think that like the stages being not really a big deal just didn't really matter to me because I was enjoying the boss fights for the most part. Most of the bosses were fun. Even when I was frustrated, I felt like I was like getting further in the boss fight each time. I mean, like, well, I don't know. You guys already said basically everything that I wanted to say about it. It's, yeah. I liked how it was fast and it felt modern. Kind of like I feel like someone said it reminded them of Melee, and I agreed with that. I don't know why. Maybe that's because it has Captain Falcon, but who knows?
Captain Falco, please.
The last boss fight was stupid though, and the fucking story made no sense. But that's fine because that's not the point anyway. But there were a lot of really good boss fights. It was fun. And then at number 2, I have Contra 3. I also changed that to 8.0 from 9, I think. I think that's probably too high of a score, but I really liked it because Contra is a big deal for me, like the OG Contra. I really liked it. I played it. I played half the game in 2-player, and that was super fun. I think that those games are better played 2-player. It breaks up the monotony. It adds so much more chaos. And I kind of like, I don't know. I enjoyed like the callbacks at the end and the final area. I thought that was super cool. I thought the last boss fight was honestly pretty crazy. Like where he's like all those different forms and you're fighting him. I like the power ups. The power ups are cool, and I cheesed and got like 1,000,000 lives, which made it a lot easier. So that. So that's Contra. Changed to 8.0, and then number 1 for me was KOTOR. What else is there to say? It's Dungeons and Dragons. I think like 4th edition, basically. It was just like really fun to role play throughout the game in my own sort of like way that I usually play games. I like to kind of like imagine what my character thinks and does outside of just their explicit actions, dialogue choices. And I felt like I got to really play around with my character's like personality in my own head, which I really, really liked. I liked how I got to play into the power fantasy of being an evil character, and I was often getting rewards for that. Although I will say, I always feel like I was rewarded as much for doing the terrible, awful things that I did. Sorry, mission and Big Z. I thought the
It was pretty
pacing was
fucked
really
up.
good. Yeah, I
Super
mean,
fucked up.
yeah, it was. I didn't quick load though. I just wanted to. It's funny too. Karth just runs. He's like, mission, run, and she's like, no, and then she gets. It's unfortunate.
Should have listened.
I thought the pacing was really good for the most part. Like, Manon got a bit monotonous. And,
All right, everybody, that's tonight's
like
episode.
the build variety was good enough. I would have liked a bit more just as like a D&D brain, but that's whatever. So be it. You guys say you like the party members. I don't know. I feel like the party members were kind of mid. At least like I went into it like I wanted like Baldur's Gate 2 party members, and I did not get that like
Bro, you
at
made the
all.
Wookiee choke the other chick.
Well, that was like sick. That was like some Baldur's Gate 2 type shit.
Right, that
to be
is sick.
honest. Like how that interaction worked out. Like, everyone. It's just weird to me that like, like everything keeps going down the way it does, and everyone's like, yeah, we're gonna keep hanging out with you. Especially my character. Like my character's doing some evil ass shit and being really evil, and like everyone's like, yeah, we'll keep hanging out with you. Like why? Honestly, I don't get it. Like in Baldur's Gate 2, if you do some ass shit, the good characters are like, bye. Anyways, that
That's a good
notwithstanding,
point.
and
if
the
you
fact.
compare it too much to Baldur's Gate 2, KOTOR seems like
Yeah,
doo-doo shit.
totally right. And I tried not to do that, but at least for the characters, I like because obviously it's like a totally different type of like RPG, I think. But I still expected the characters to have that level of interactivity that they didn't, and I think that is sort of caused by the fact that you only have 2 of them party. But what can I find I didn't even end up exploring most of their arcs, but that's because I was evil and you played the game well. Anything else I have to say about this game? Yeah, I guess just like I said, like the way that I role-playing games made the end where it said you are this person, this is how you think and act. Despite being dark side, I did not love that at all. And the ending totally was kind of like it was a shitter. Like it was a shitter for you guys, but it was especially a shitter for me because I was whatever Darth Vader or something at the end. No, I wanted to be like Darth Shaggy, but that
Yeah.
wasn't allowed. They didn't allow me to do that. Too bad.
Did you say Darth Shaggy?
Yeah, my character's name was Shaggy.
Oh,
You guys,
okay.
you would understand if you watched the Clone Wars.
No,
Yes, and that's it. That's my list.
That's great.
cool. Good list.
Chris, would you like to go next?
Okay. So I didn't really write down any thoughts, which would probably have been good, but I've heard people talking about these games, and I have the titles in front of me, and I know what I think of these games. So there are 4 that I think are great. There's 1 I think is good, and then there's the rest. Maybe I'll start at the bottom, because at the bottom, well, it's there's one that I didn't finish, and it's very rare that I drop games. I am typically someone who forces myself to finish. I wouldn't say forces. I like to finish every game that I start, even if it's trash. But in some cases, if they're just unbearable or boring. In this case, I mostly ran out of time, but I did come back to finish it. I did want to finish it before we did this discussion, and I couldn't because I remembered how much I disliked this aspect of the game, which was the towns in Mystical Ninja. I think there's a big disconnect between the town sections and the platforming. I think the platforming sections, if this were just a standard action platformer, I would have probably enjoyed it a lot more, but the towns, it throws off the... Sorry, I read Goot's message and now I'm self-conscious of my levels.
No,
You're good, you're
fine.
good.
He was saying that to me.
Okay. All right.
You sound great.
Yeah, that really, there was the section that I was stuck on. You have to grind for, I think you have to get the pass for the mountain,
Mm-hmm.
and it's something like $900, and I did not want to do that. I did it once, and then I died on the level, and then you lose all your money, and you have to do it again. And the only thing I cared to do was just kill enemies to do it, because I didn't want to play the mini games. I didn't want to go into every individual house and try to learn the layout of every identical looking building. It's just very unpleasant experience playing those town sections. The platforming itself, the combat, I think it's totally fine. But the fact that I didn't finish it because it was so grating, I think that says a lot. So that would be my bottom of the list, is The Legend of the Mystical Ninja. So one above that would be Fazanadu, which I believe I called a joyless piece of shit.
One might have recorded
yeah.
that. Yeah.
I believe that phrase was uttered. I stand by that. I think it's kind of just shitty Zelda 2. The fact that it came out in 1989, it might have been more interesting or like ahead of its time if it had come out like 86, 87. It might have been more excusable, I think. But it's kind of like it's well into NES life at that point. So the things that made it really unenjoyable were things like the ladders, the things people had mentioned this already, but like the keys and falling back off a screen when you get hit. Like if you try to backtrack onto a screen, you hit an enemy, like there's just an enemy there and you get knocked right back off the screen. Lots of things that made it feel like it wasn't even play tested. And I've touched poison. It's pretty rough. So yeah, I think it looks cool. Definitely, like it's got a great look and sound, but it was pretty unenjoyable. Some interesting ideas, but I think, yeah, it's kind of just shitty Zelda 2. Goot is saying, can't hear anything.
I hear you. I see my OBS levels.
I think you're good.
Yeah, I think we're all good.
That's fine. Maybe try getting closer to your microphone.
Okay. Anyway, number 8 is Croc Legend of the Gobos, which I think for the most part was actually okay, and it's pretty charming. The hitboxes on the bosses and enemies in general, it feels like one of those things. Again, it feels like an unfinished alpha or something of like an unfinished game. It's kind of baffling. It's a little like the fact that this is post Tomb Raider, it's post Mario 64. It's very unimpressive. It's mostly okay. I'm trying to remember exactly what I disliked about it. I think it's kind of yeah, mostly okay, but yeah, number 8. Number 7, Castlevania Dracula X, which I think generally is actually, I think it's not so bad. It's like it's Castlevania. The problems I think come in certain stages, and definitely the final boss. For the most part, it controls well. It sounds good. I didn't hate it. I definitely hated the final boss, and I believe I said I wanted to die as I was fighting the final boss. And
You did many times.
yeah.
Yeah, we all did.
I'd probably, I'd sooner replay Dracula X over some of these games, including probably the next one, just because the next one is Illusion of Gaia, and Illusion of Gaia is pretty long. It's one of those games I'm glad I played it, because it's all right. The biggest problem I had with this one is just definitely the writing and translation. It's the writing is very strange. That was the most off-putting thing for me in this game. The actual dungeon sections were pretty satisfying. I thought it was a fairly decent experience, but the fact that there's so much focus on the storytelling and the strange writing, it was I don't know, there's something there. I understand what people think about just like the tone of it and everything. I get that. It's there's something there, but it was definitely not my favorite. And next is Clock Tower, which I actually quite liked. It's mostly for the atmosphere and the fact that it's so unique, especially on the platform. It's mostly the atmosphere that I like about it. I generally do like point and click games. The biggest strength is probably just the multiple endings and the way everything can play out. I think that was the thing I was talking about the most in the episode, was the variance in every playthrough. It's a game I will revisit, because a playthrough is only it's a very brief game. So I think I will revisit it and see what endings I can get. Good Halloween game. And the rest of the list is more the games that I think were genuinely great. Contra 3 is just a very good-ass, badass action platformer.
Good ass, badass. I like that.
I think what people have said about it being maybe sort of a solved game, it's sort of everything, every playthrough might be the same. I can understand that criticism. I don't know, that doesn't bother me too much. It's just a very solid game. Next is Knights of the Old Republic. I feel like I didn't even I kind of understated how much I actually liked this game, I think, when we were talking about it, because I was too busy talking about Mass Effect. But I'm a big RPG fan, I'm a big Star Wars fan, and I particularly like BioWare's games, and this one was super interesting, just knowing, or just to have the context of their catalog, like Baldur's Gate before it and then Mass Effect after it. I'm really glad I played it. It has been on my list for a very, very long time, and a very memorable game. I will definitely play the sequel this year at some point.
Oh yeah.
And the next one is Shinobi 3: Return of the Ninja Master. This, for the longest time, has been the quintessential Sega Genesis game. This is my favorite Genesis game. It looks and sounds amazing. There's like it feels super good and satisfying to bounce off enemies and throw shurikens and all that. Sorry, just one sec.
Also felt good to cast
So far, so
magic
good.
in Shinobi. Remember
Mhm.
that, Colin? Casting magic in Shinobi.
I don't really know what else to say about it other than it's just a super awesome game. The major criticism, if I had one, would be that magic does kind of ninjutsu does kind of trivialize a lot of it, and when you don't use it, it's super fucking hard. So there's a bit of a balance. Like there's the balance is a bit off, I would say, and maybe some of the later stages aren't as good as the earlier ones. But overall, I love this game and one of my favorite Genesis games for sure. But my new favorite Genesis game is Alien Soldier, which is
Yeah, yeah.
one of the best games I've played this year. One of the best games I think I've played ever. It's a video game. The way it's built around risk reward with the parry system, I think, is brilliant. From start to finish, it's just nonstop badass action. Looks and sounds amazing. Feels super ahead of its time. I can't think of another 16-bit action game that's as sophisticated, especially on a console. I was also a very big fan of the just incomprehensible script, the opening script, and
Sets
just
the
text
tone
in the
just
game, 'cause I
right.
played the Japanese version, and the English text was very, very enjoyable. Love the music, love the way it controls. Yeah, that's my favorite game this year, or not overall, but of the ones that we played. Alien Soldier, for sure.
That's fair, dude. Good ass game.
Indeed.
All right, I will go. I'll
Take
go
us
pretty
home.
quickly because I really only have like a couple thoughts per game. But I'm curious. Don't look at my scores. What do you guys think my favorite game was?
Xanadu.
Was it Mystical Ninja?
That's a good guess. Any other guessers?
Alien
I
Soldier.
was gonna say KOTOR.
That's a good guess. Okay. So number 10 position, Croc, generously leaving it at a
Oof.
6. It exudes pizzazz and bazingas. It's a great game for very little resources. But man, what an experience Croc was. Generously leaving that at a 6.
Curious play it.
Number 9 position, Dracula X. I bumped down to a 6.25. 6.5 is way too generous, even 6.25. But still, in comparison to the other Super Nintendo games, I do think it's a pretty decent game. It's a bad port, but it's a cool game. And yep. Faxanadu, I bumped up to a 6.5, which there's probably some bias there. I know Darth is pissed at that one. But truly, I really think it was just a little too ambitious for the NES. I genuinely think it's really just limited by age and dev resources. Hence, Faxanadu XD would be sick.
Let's
Illusion of Gaia 6.75. I'm leaving it there in the number 7 position. Great setting, unique mechanics and combat. At least that's how I felt about it. Really did not like the pacing or localization, but love that I played it. It was a great experience. Clock Tower. So giving it a 7 also seems pretty generous, but I definitely think it was, despite its shortcomings, really ambitious, unique, and is very much so a historical video game. And even though I really wish at the time that it landed on Fear and we played Fear because I love that game, Clock Tower is a really good Halloween game for us to play, I think. There's a lot of great discussions. Shinobi 3, number 5 position. 7.75. It's a great game. I think the thing I like most about Shinobi is its design considerations for its age. Just really subtle tutorializations and great pacing, just a very polished game. It's just not like amazing tier. 7.75, great game. And now for my position, ranks 4, 3, and 2 are all tied at 8, and I'm gonna rank them in subjective order. So Contra 3, I bumped down to an 8.0. And pretty much it's because it's a great game, but for me, it's a little too arcadey. And compared to the other games on on this list, even games I don't like as much or I don't think are as good, Contra 3 isn't really a game I actually want to go back and play. And yeah, I don't really know if it's what it is specifically, but it just wasn't that fun. But I respect it a ton, and I am glad I played it. KOTOR, I bumped down to an 8, and I still want to let my thoughts marinate on it more because it's a big game, and also I rushed the ending. So my opinion on that's a little irrelevant, but from what I played, it's easily one of the most enjoyable games I played. Again, super grateful to have played it. And then for the number 2 position is Mystical Ninja. I like the towns, okay? I like the towns.
I got you, homie. I like
But yeah,
those
they
towns
clearly
too.
were padding and little pacing differentiations. And for what they brought, how many unique experiences and how polished of a little tiny cute package that is Mystical Ninja. Take that how you will. That is a awesome game, and that's a man. I'm so glad I played that. And then the number 1 position, the Bazooper Bazinga game of the year, was Alien Soldier, leaving it at an 8.5. It's real. Alien Soldier is kind of my god hand of video game book club because it conventionally does a lot wrong. That one stupid boss before Seven Force or whatever it's called, the weird
The
face
Genesis phase.
amalgamation of shapes.
Yep.
That's so bad. That was like a prototype boss. There's so many things that are objectively wrong with this game, but it was fast and fun, and it felt so unique by retro and modern standards. And then Darth filling us in on the history of it a little more. I just have so much respect for Alien Soldier. The biggest surprise of the year, video game book club or not included. Alien Soldier was just so sick, man. Loved it.
Well said. I agree.
And then I guess my one quick final thought is I find it interesting because I've always given pseudo fake Metacritic scores to games in my head as I play them. But keeping up an ongoing dialogue with you guys and then even having this check at the end, I find it really fascinating because scores are so abstract, even as objective as you try and get with them.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought I was like gaining this accuracy every score and comparing and checking, but yeah, abstract is the word. It's we can argue all day, but at the end of the day, we're gonna, as objective as we try and be, we're gonna have our own personal biases that totally shape these discussions. So that is my list.
Very, very good. Very good.
What a great list it was. So now I
Yeah,
guess
like it
it's-
totally just like I feel like just like my mood will determine like the score sometimes. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Go in pissed
totally,
off at a
like-
game, just have a bad time.
I feel
Yeah,
like
where
I
people
know.
are in their life dramatically affects their perception of a game, and I don't even think most people realize their consumption of media is so heavily affected by that. But, yeah.
It's true, but also the game does play a role on tipping your mood in one direction or
Yeah,
the other.
like it could have like
Very
the
true,
opposite
very
effect.
true.
Like a
I
great
totally agree with
game
that.
can take you out of a
I should
funk.
probably try to like give the game a rating like after every single session. That would probably be a better way gauging how I actually feel about it. Maybe. But I digress.
All right.
Cool. So is that everybody?
Yeah, that's everybody.
Donnie, you might be. I think I can only hear you on stream and not on Discord, by the way.
Uh-oh.
Hmm.
Technical difficulties.
Oh my. Everybody
Yeah, I
mute.
don't think we've heard you since Corn talked. Now that I think about it.
Can you hear me
thought
on
you was
Discord
just
now?
Wow. Wow. What are you trying to say?
All right, how about now? Discord is dumb and I hate it. All right, everybody in the stream who can hear me, I apologize. I don't know what's going on with Discord. Technical difficulties, but at least the stream is still up. I'm gonna close my Discord, rejoin back. These Discord noises are probably gonna be hilarious for everybody watching along at home. Just want to make sure my video broadcast is working. It looks like it's working because I see me talk on OBS. So I'm definitely gonna assume that stream still hears me. I'm just gonna say some gamer words about OBS, or not OBS, about Discord. That does seem to be interesting. People can't hear Colin or myself.
Everybody kept cutting me off. I was like, fuck.
Oh,
Sorry.
Oh.
Yeah, we haven't heard
Oh,
you
we
or
heard Donnie
Danny.
there.
Oh, there's
Yeah.
Danny.
I wonder if it was the server that Colin and I are connected to for Discord.
Probably.
It must be. Yeah.
That's really bizarre and
Yeah, sorry for
unfortunate.
that,
Unfortunate.
Wait, were you
That's
able to
like-
hear us, or was it?
Yeah,
just mine?
I heard everything you guys said, but it was funny. Colin was also suspiciously quiet. I was trying to talk and I couldn't.
oh.
Whoa, that was loud.
Sorry.
I can you. You have like a freezer and like open right behind you or something.
Oh, so that's the thrum I always hear on Colin's mic that you guys are now hearing.
I'm sorry, that was a fucked up thing to say.
Right.
But yeah, that sucks,
Keeps his
man. I hate
vanilla
when
ice
that shit
cream.
happens. Like
Yeah,
when
I mean,
I was playing Kirby and my chat died for 2 hours, and I was like, "Why isn't anybody talking to me?"
well, at least like everybody, like I didn't lose your guys talking, and I was just kind of agreeing and adding flavor commentary.
Right.
And I thought my jokes just
Xanadu
weren't hitting,
was the
but
worst game, and
Trash.
the town's
So,
destroyed.
well,
games and Crockett
so-
Tours.
Do you want to finish your thought there, Holden?
Oh, what was my thought
Biggest to be
About,
surprised.
about what?
I asked you like if you like.
Oh
if you
yeah,
learned-
thank you. Yeah, oh yeah, super. Just ask general question for the younger participants. Was there anything that surprised us, or like any perspective we came out of book club with playing these older games? And for me, it really wasn't until Alien Soldier, but I had this thought because Contra 3, I was like, yeah, 8.5, great game, but like I wasn't really looking forward to playing other platformers after that, and then booted up Alien Soldier and went, whoa, it was like Millhouse with his hair flying back in front of the screen, like cool, like I'm rejuvenated. The the innate hunger to go play old games. I totally awoken that again. Beyond just like I'm playing games for history. It's like I actually really want
Whoa,
to play
hey.
some, you know.
Hey,
Find out
what
that
was
there are
that
still
voice? There's a little negative connotation in
I
there.
just want to
treasures
play
out
video
there.
games for history. 'Cause I'm an aspiring game developer.
Oh, it's
That voice.
self-deprecating. Okay.
Yeah.
That's fine.
I think for me, it made me actually really appreciate Celeste as a game more. Like, which is weird. It's like I always come back to that game when I'm playing all these platformers because, like, I reckon that like a lot of the sections in Celeste are harder than like a lot of the things in all these games, but because the save points are so often, I've I've I just feel like it made me, I guess, appreciate save points, to be honest. It made me appreciate my own time a bit more as well.
Oh,
Like
interesting.
at the start, I was kind of like, oh, should I use save states? I use save states even more now, because
Yeah, for sure.
I think that um I just want to play games and have fun, and I am not able to come into these games like with the same sort of headspace that you guys come from with like what's like about difficulty and having to like go back to the start. Like I don't have that baseline, so I think that actually playing it the way that is fun for me is just a better way of doing it, and I've slowly had more and more fun just doing save points how I like, how I kind of want to do them. Like sometimes I'll do them at the start of every stage. It totally just depends. So I feel like I've had a bit more respect for myself, and I've been a bit less hard
Oh,
on
you
myself
gain
at the beginning.
self-respect out of this. That's incredible.
That is incredible. I like that. And I'm saying, like, when you mentioned, like, you learn to value your time more, that's an interesting thought because, like, a lot of older video games, they used having to go back as, like, a punishment for dying. But then you mentioned Celeste, and I feel like one of the things that newer video games do very well compared to old games are, like, quick respawn, quick retry. Like there's a lot of old games where you die and like there's just so much time wasted when like getting back to where you were to try again. And I feel things like like Celeste's instant restart is just so great, and like every game should have that. Like
I agree, and I think it allows you to create more challenging and more engaging sections because you don't have to be like, oh man, this is really gonna like stump people in this like 5 obstacle like save pointless section.
right, yeah.
I
And
think
I
it's
think that if you like, no, a lot of people say, "Oh, Surfstar's cheating," whatever, but if
Me.
you genuinely find more joy and you have a better time doing it that way, then that's the way you should do it. Period. Like you're playing a game to have fun. And for someone who finds enjoyment in not using save states and trying to overcome these challenges that the game presents, that's their way of having fun. And that's what they should do.
hmm and it's like I think it's just about setting. It's kind of cool with the save state. You can set it your own way, which is awesome.
Right.
So I'm really glad I get to play these games with that context. I get to actually experience them rather than get frustrated and stop playing them.
Good
That's
point.
cool.
Understandable.
Yeah,
Danny, are you still with us?
yeah, I'm still here.
Uh-oh. Yeah, dang.
No.
Yeah, that sucks.
Dude, my
Well-
Discord's doing this weird thing too.
We all got
think-
our thoughts out. I think
I
this
think-
is wrap up time anyway. Does Donnie maybe want to just close it?
So you guys can't hear me?
Yeah, he can't. He's damn. That sucks.
No way.
Nope.
Okay, well then give me your best Danny impression. Let's go.
Bazooper.
Whoa.
You guys want to play a
Whoa.
Zooter? I don't know what I'm gonna say. All that Danny says. Bro.
I'm offended by what is happening right now. I know they can't hear
What?
me, but
Honestly,
Why would you-
I'm gonna. Danny can't even talk back when I say this. I mean he would. I don't think he would. I think it was like an incredible like show of focus when he did that 24-hour stream and played Zooter like and got through that. I was like, holy shit!
It was insane.
I was like, this man, he's focus incarnate. I don't know how he's still going. Sorry, I might be. Maybe Danny does want to up. Sorry.
Oh, he can't speak right now.
Oh no,
They
they're
can
gonna start
speak to
making
the
fun of me.
audience, right?
I can speak to the audience. Darth is right.
Can he? Is
How
he?
flattering.
Like, if he's recording it, they should still be able to hear that, and him and us, right? Because he can hear us. We just can hear him. It's just
I don't
He's
know.
Colin.
right.
I don't
Poor
have the.
Colin.
I don't have the stream. I have the stream muted, so I don't know.
They can't tell. There's probably a
That
Discord
sucks.
/
The last
Twitch
two
chat
episodes have been
server
plagued
issue.
by Discord problems.
Discord is not what it used to be. Can I just say that? Just say that?
Damn,
Yeah,
It's
when's
not the
that's
same.
IRC?
it's getting heavy.
It's not the same. I can't freaking do the music bots as good anymore. Can't freaking use it without having problems. What the hell?
Just like everything else, it's not as good as it used to be.
That's true.
Right, Chris?
That's 100% true. That is factual.
I miss Ventrilo.
I miss Skype.
They're right.
miss
Ventrilo
smoke
wouldn't have done
signals.
this. Ventrilo wouldn't have done this.
Crazy.
Hey, Goot, can you hear Danny and Colin?
I can hear Donnie on stream.
Oh,
Is he
Hold.
shitting and farting?
I'm not shitting and farting.
No, he's getting paranoid of our impressions of him.
Oh,
That
I'm
is
sorry,
slightly
Dan.
Well,
That was rude. I was
I
messed
guess
up
if you
before.
want to, I guess if you want to wrap it up, Danny.
Yeah. So
Can.
I can close it out. I unfortunately
Before he
Can't-
does that,
can't
I'm
have
gonna
it-
put it on a positive note. I'm really glad that we played these and that we came back and
to see
talked
it.
about them again. I feel like there's a lot of good things that made me think about things again. Made me kind of to rethink my ratings, and I appreciate that. I think it was awesome.
Yeah, mute us so we're not talking over you, and then just play us out.
Yeah, I'll just mute myself. Bye.
All right. Well, I'm just going to go over the aggregate rankings, which Colin was so kind enough to go through and adjust everything and do all the hard work of doing that. So I'm just going to quickly just recap all the list. Hopefully somewhere in the middle, my Discord chat, whatever comes back. Come on, Discord, get it together. But at the bottom, I thought it was going to be Clock Tower. With the adjustments, it actually turns out the Dracula X is the lowest scored game. All these two are actually neck and neck for lowest position because Clock Tower is number 9, sitting down at the bottom of the list, keeping good company with Dracula X, followed by Xanadu at number 7, or I'm sorry, number 8, which I personally, that's harsh, but it has its struggles. A game that took nonstop beatings, but somehow is number 7 is Croc Legend of the Gobos. For the amount of trash that got talked on it, oh man. It's a respectable position. Croc, may you rest in peace. Following that, number 6, Illusion of Gaia. Got a lot of praise. It was a heavy game and had some issues, but it was a good game. Keep it down, Discord. After that, number 5, Legend of the Mystical Ninja. Yeah, the towns might have been whack, but you know what? Deal with it. I liked them. Holden liked them. That's all that matters. And yeah, it was a great game. Everybody should play it. Everybody should play all these games. Then number 4. These games are so tight. So the top 3, actually the top 4, they're so close. They're within like 0.4 and 0.5 of each other. Number 4, Alien Soldier. We've said it all. If you like video games, this is it. This is probably the pinnacle. They're up there. Alien Soldier. Check out God Hand. Think about it. And then literally right above Alien Soldier, Shinobi 3, Return of the Ninja Master. 2 Genesis back to back. Go figure. I don't even like Genesis games, and somehow they made it to the top of the list. And then number 2, Contra 3. I actually didn't see that coming. Contra 3 being as high as it was is pretty wild that it's number 2. But I mean, again, it's a video game, so it deserves to be on top of a list of good ass video games. And then number 1, kind of swooping in, taking the top position, Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic, final game for the year, video game, book club, long game, coming in and just tickling everybody's fancy, whether it be D&D, RPG, Star Wars, or being a meat bag. You know, it's as historic and regarded the way it is for a reason. Like, it made it to the top of our list. And then I would be remiss to not mention all of Chris's scores, if you will. So let's go through those real quick. Faxanadu, 2 ointments out of 45,000 EXP. Croc, Legend of the Gobos, 6 pointless collectibles out of 64%. Contra 3 Contras out of 30 Konami codes. The Legend of the Mystical Ninja, 2 massive engorged raccoon dog testicles. Castlevania Dracula X, 1 big stinking Dracula fight out of 10. Illusion of Gaia, 50 red gems out of a dying Hamlet. Clock Tower, back-to-back ham. 3 hams out of 1 giant flying baby. Alien Soldier, 10 Wolfgun Bloods out of 11 Mega Drive customs, which that sounds like super high praise. So I'm putting Alien Soldier on top of the list after reading that one. And then finally, Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic, sorry Super, 8 meat bags out of 40,000 midichlorians. But that wraps it up. Till next year. Till there's more video game book club games. Till there's more of Super making noises like that. And we get a full year's worth of games. I'm Danny, joined by Chris, Colin, Super, Darth, and Holden for Video Game Book Club. Seriously Casual, the 2023 recap. Apologies for all the Discord fuckery and who knows what else at the end, but I'm glad you could join us. Guys, I don't even know if you can hear me, but thanks for being here. Thanks for playing the games. Thanks for sitting down for the discussions. Everybody who's watching, shitting up the chat, always appreciate it. Thanks for a good year of Seriously Casual. Join us in February, where we reconvene for Metroid Zero Mission and get back to brass tacks. But until then, everybody, I'll catch you guys later. See you around. Have a good one.
Okay.